Has someone stolen Kentuckians' land, jobs, and pride? You wouldn't think so if you spent some time with people from Kentucky. I just returned from attending a wedding in Kentucky. When I said I was going to Kentucky, a colleague of mine, who tends to be on the left of most things political, said the people of Kentucky were toothless, pill-popping, rednecks who are Trump voters. I don't think my friend just made that up to be funny. I think he qualifies as a West Coast elite who somehow thinks progressives, leftists, and people who live in coastal California and New York are somehow better than folks in the rest of America. My experience with the people in Kentucky, while anecdotal, shows otherwise. My wife's friend, from one of her former jobs, was marrying a man my wife's friend had met at work, who was born and raised in Kentucky. We were happy to stay in a hotel, but the parents of the groom insisted we stay in a spare bedroom at their house. They live on the outskirts of Bowling Green, the third largest city in Kentucky and home of Western Kentucky University, and since 1981, the Corvette manufacturing facility. The parents are Bobby and Linda. Together, they have 5 sons. Bobby and 2 of his sons work in the siding and window installation business. One son is an electrician. Another son works for an international hospitality company. One son works part-time as a DJ. Bobby and Linda are rightfully proud of their sons and their extended family. They are close not only with their sons, but with their sons' wives and girlfriends, and with their 7 grandchildren. One son is married to a wonderful black woman who works at a local hospital, and the son whose wedding we attended married an Asian. The wedding was held in a small community just outside Bowling Green, in an event center that is rented out for weddings and other such activities. Linda and the daughter-in-laws oversaw decorating the hall my wife helped. Bobby smoked 6 Boston butt pork roasts in his smoker. His friend Dickie prepared cowboy beans. Linda prepared salads, and friends and other relatives brought desserts and appetizers. One of Bobby and Linda's sons brought his DJ equipment and provided the music. All the sons and all the daughter-in-laws and girlfriends were part of the wedding party. You might be thinking that this wedding didn't cost much, and it didn't. But you might also be thinking that they didn't spend much because they didn't have much to spend, and you'd be dead wrong. Bobby's siding and window business does well, and they live in a large home on 5 acres with a swimming pool. They have a small vacation property on a local lake, and Bobby has a brand new 20-foot bass fisher and ski boat on a trailer sitting in the driveway. They didn't spend a lot of money because there was no one to impress. The guests were mostly extended family and close friends, and the wedding, had it been held at their house, which they could have done, was as much a backyard barbecue with beer and smoked pork as it was a formal occasion designed to impress people. I noticed something in Kentucky that seemed different than California. There seemed to be a great respect for the elders, even those who had passed on. At the wedding, a table right near the entrance to the hall was set up with photos of Bobby and Linda's parents and their parents, who had all passed. This reverence extended into the communities where cemeteries, even very old ones, were well maintained with the grass trimmed, headstones polished, and flowers on many of the graves. Bobby says he is a redneck, and he fits the description. Wikipedia says a redneck is a derogatory term mainly, but not exclusively, applied to white Americans perceived to be crass and unsophisticated, closely associated with rural whites of the southern United States. You won't be expecting Bobby to quote Shakespeare or Whitman, but his Kentucky wisdom is just as powerful. Bobby is one of the nicest people you could ever meet who would bend over backward for a stranger. He also says that you better not cross him, because if you do, you're in trouble. He isn't afraid of saying what needs to be said, even if some of those listening might be offended. His friend Dickie is a heavy equipment operator who spent 6 months helping fix the levees in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. His wife passed about a year ago, and Dickie tells me it brought an end to a friendship. One of his closest friends moved to Arizona, and Dickie wanted that friend at the funeral to be a pallbearer. The friend said it was too expensive for him to come. Dickie explains, the most important thing is family, and my wife was the most important thing to me in the world. If that guy couldn't be there for me and my wife's funeral, then I don't need him as a friend. Bobby has a passion for cooking. His specialty is smoked meats, and he has 3 smokers. His house is great for parties with a swimming pool, large outdoor deck, outdoor bar, and lots of seating and grassy areas for kids to play. I suggested he could hold barbecues at his house and charge people to spend the day. He laughed. He said, "Ain't no one paying to spend time at my place and eat my food." I just couldn't do it. That's why this place is here, for people to enjoy, and everyone's welcome. In a recent post on Substack, Robert Reich said the following: "I've just finished reading the page proofs to a wonderfully insightful book titled Stolen Pride by the eminent sociologist Arlie Hochschild. In her in-depth interviews in the Trump country of Eastern Kentucky, Hochschild finds that Trump speaks to the shame and anguish of Americans who have been left behind. Trump has fused his fake victimhood with their feelings of real victimhood. His assertion of a stolen election fits into their sense of what has been stolen from them: their jobs, their communities, their land, and their pride." I read this quote to Bobby. He laughed. "I've lived in Kentucky my whole life, and I don't know anyone who thinks like that. Nothing's been stolen from me. I have a wonderful life with a great family and great friends. What else could anyone ask for?" During my stay, we didn't talk much about politics, but when the subject came up, both Bobby and Dickie said they were Trump supporters. Bobby complained about the increasing prices. It was costing more to fill up his pickup truck and more to buy groceries. But something that bothered him the most was the cost of materials for his siding and window jobs. It meant that he had to charge more to his customers, and he didn't like that. He also complained about the interest rates. He mentioned that crime was up in his area, and both he and Dickie had low opinions of anyone who didn't work, and the fact that people could survive without working by getting government handouts. Neither of them seemed much interested in Ukraine or Palestine, and while both acknowledged the climate is changing, they both felt the government was using it as an excuse to increase taxes and waste money. I spent 4 days with Bobby and Linda, their extended family, and their friends. I also had the opportunity to speak with several other Kentuckians, from the butcher at the local grocery store, to the guide on the bourbon tour, to the server at a tavern in Bowling Green. I don't get the impression that any one of them felt their land, their jobs, or their pride had been stolen. I found just the opposite. The people I met seemed proud to be Americans and proud to be Kentuckians. Their families are important, their friends are important, and their faith in God is important. They are willing to help others, and they freely reach out to members of the community when they need help. They say what needs to be said, and they don't beat around the bush. Their hearts are warm, they are welcoming, and they are willing to fight for what they believe is right and what is theirs. Maybe with these last few paragraphs, I have figured out why people on the left like Robert Reich would have a low opinion of them.